Hello, my favorite statistics students. I wanted to put another lecture video out there, provide a little bit more information, as well as give you a couple of course updates. One of the things that I've done is I've changed the gradebook settings a little bit, and you should be able to, as you work through things in the gradebook, you'll get check marks that show up next to them as you've done them, to kind of help you track what you've done and what you haven't done. Everything that starts here with the Stat Tutor option should have unlimited attempts, and the statistical applet things should all have unlimited attempts and with no penalty involved in them. So you can answer the question until you get it right. The homework things, like the Chapter 1 homework, they're also worth a little bit more points. They're all worth 20 points. On those, there's a penalty. You have unlimited responses, but there's a 5% penalty every time you give a wrong answer. So, but it's 5% like off of that question. So if it was a 1-point question, you get 0.95 points when you answer it wrong the first time, and 0.9 points if it takes you 2 times to get the right answer, or 3 times to get the right answer. In there. So those homeworks are going to have penalties that carry over for giving the wrong answers. So you don't want to just guess and check. Spend a little bit of time thinking about what the answer is going to be. But you do have the option to resubmit until you get the answer right on that one, or the deadline comes. Okay, so that's there. Another thing that I've done is I've added in the student survey. It's a survey, it's questions for you from the class, just get some general data, trying to generate some data that maybe we can do some things with later on in the quarter to get some information, because it's always kind of fun to work with data that you're a part of. So if you could take a few minutes and do that student survey, I'd really appreciate it. Okay, and the other thing I wanted to talk about today, the real content sort of thing, is the types of data. Now, the textbook lists 2 types of data, quantitative and discrete, or no, not quantitative and discrete, categorical and quantitative. And then the quantitative has the two subcategories of continuous and discrete. But there's the 2 main types of data, but there's actually a third type of data, and that is an identifier. And so I'm going to pull up some data here I found online. This is from the Los Angeles Police Department, and it was data on what do they call it? It's all in the news today. Let me go back here, what it is. Police settlements. So for police misconduct sort of things, these are settlements that were paid out by the city of Los Angeles for misconduct by police officers. And you can see over here on the right-hand side, column G is the amount of money that was paid off, and column H is sort of a categorical value of what was the reason. So maybe a lot of these, it looks like, are traffic accidents that, if the police officer was at fault for the traffic accident, then that's kind of a form of misconduct, and the city pays out on that. It might be a payment to an insurance company or something to help cover the cost of the repair of your vehicle, sort of things. And then there are other things, some civil rights violations in here, it looks like, fairly small. Here's a false arrest and detainment sort of thing. That's quite a little bit more expensive in there. So the case type would be a type of categorical value. The amount would be a quantitative variable. But there's other data in here that would be what I'd call identifiers. The third type of data, like the case name or the claim file number, would be identifiers. And identifiers are a piece of data that are unique to individuals. It might be an ID number, your name itself. If a survey asks for your name, that's typically some sort of identifier. Names aren't necessarily so good identifiers because there's probably multiple people. Some of you have common names. David Nelson is actually a pretty common name. There's a lot of people with the common name of David. David Nelson is pretty common. I don't know where it ranks, but as a combination, it's up there. It's like 15th most popular two-name combination that's out there. And for a while there, after 9/11, we were all on the no-fly list. So whenever I had to go to the airport, I had to go through some little extra processing to fly. It seems like they've listed that recently when I've flown in the last 5 or 10 years. But the first 5-10 years after 9/11 was always a little. They had to go back and make a call to the FBI and check or somewhere. I don't know where they call. When you check in at the airport, they'd have to do an extra little security check on me. But anyway, name is typically an identifier. Your student ID number is an identifier. Your phone number can be used as an identifier, an email address. Something that's sort of unique to any one individual can be used as an identifier, or maybe to a family. If you've got a shopping club card sort of thing that like at Fred Meyer or whatever, where you get a discount if you scan your club card, your family might be associated with a particular identifier in there. Or they might use your home phone number as an identifier in there to kind of identify a group and sort of that. And so for an individual, you're tracking data of an individual. An individual might have an identifier. And the ideal identifier is unique, that you've got your identifier and nobody else has that same identifier. But when you're looking at data, like column D or column E in the spreadsheet, you will see things that are identifiers. So it's data, but we don't really do anything with it. There's no purpose to really graph it or to look at any sort of anything with it. Really, it doesn't really. I mean, it identifies you as an individual, but it doesn't really. There's no reason to do any sort of average or make a pie chart or anything like that out of the information there. But so a lot of times it's kind of skipped over in stats books, but it is sort of the third type. So we got the categorical type variable, which they've broken these cases into various categories here, whether it's a traffic accident or civil rights or something other more serious sort of thing, sexual harassment. Boy, there's some good things in here in there. $1 million in there. But you've got these, quantitative things, and you've got also like the dollar amount that people were awarded, and then you've got the categorical value that they've done here of case type. But you also have the identifier. So 3 different ways, 3 different types of data. There's 2 that we really do anything with. That's the categorical or the quantitative one are the 2 that we really do anything with, but identifier is the third type that's out there.